I'm going to turn this over to someone who's going to open this with a pule for us, first of all. So I'd like to call on Kaliko Storer to give us our opening prayer. So mahalo.
Good evening, everyone. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for a new year and the time that we get right now to meet. Thank you for those that have come to share, to give solutions. Thank you for those that we continue to partner with in this season of rebuild. Lord, have your way in tonight's meeting, and most importantly, take us all home safely. We remember those that had come before us, so we give honor to them. And we never do things on our own accord, but we always have them in remembrance. So we thank you for our leadership and those leaders arising and the new tomorrows and the year that we're walking into. We ask this in your most precious name, Jesus. Amen.
Mahalo Kaliko. So I just wanted to come up before we start the program to introduce our new old person who runs this program for us. So Mahina Martin is back tonight, everybody. This week was her first week back in the office after many, many, many months of battling. She's a real strong person, and for her to be here tonight is just wonderful. So I didn't want to just get up here and start talking. I wanted everybody to acknowledge, and I know all of our team are inspired and very, very, very grateful that she is back in the office with us. And so please, once more, welcome Mahina Martin.
Thank you, Bob. Oh, now he's suspicious. Oh, ole makahiki ho, I so miss you, Lahaina. I so miss you. I hope I don't cry. Anyway, mahalo, Mayor, and yes, I've missed you for the last 6-7 months as I take on my own battle, and I completed my chemo, and here we are back among you, and so blessed and graced to be at your side one more time in the new year. So we're gonna move forward because there is such joy to be among you as everyone makes their way day by day through it. And I have to say, you have been in my thoughts and prayers for every first Wednesday of the month. And I've thought about in our team, so grateful for everything that our team has done to step up to the plate as well. But there is so much business to do and so much to cover. And a mahalo, my boss, for his kindness and for the aloha that our team has had. So with that, see, he made me forget. I'm going to leave the clicker over there. So that's kind of a small senior moment with a clicker. And Peppa. All right. And all of you have been working with Christine, who has done a wonderful job, hasn't she? Monitoring every meeting. Appreciate that. Hard act to follow all the time, but she's there. So we're gonna go back to that a little bumpy tonight, just trying to get back into the mode of things, but we welcome everyone to the new year. Oops, here we go. Have a few announcements I'm gonna cover just to make sure that we can keep up with all the things that we want to make sure are out there. And as always, we want you to take care of yourselves so that we can also help take care of other people. So we remind you that there are many resources, and if you need support, use the QR code and go on and use the resources. We tell our own team the same thing from day one. So there should always be a time when you feel, if there's ever a time that you feel like you need it, please do not hesitate. And all of these slides, and you all know, are on our website, marirecovers.org, so just go ahead and use. There's a webinar. Sometimes, everybody wants to know, where are we gonna plant, what we like plant, we're getting ready to plant, I'm gonna go shopping for plants, I'm getting donated. plants. So there's going to be a webinar coming up January 27, so you can sign up and learn a little bit more. It's from our friends from the Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization. You've met them before, good folks. They're partnering with some other organizations like Pacific Fire Exchange, so you can learn a little bit more from that and do your best on your own planting and property. We are having a short agenda tonight just so that we can cover the things that need to be covered. You're going to learn a little bit more about the temporary disposal site. Shayna Gawa is here again, and then from the Office of Recovery, from John Smith and his team, we'll continue to give the updates as we do every month. Next month is February already. We'll be back on February 4th, same place, same time. We'll be here and hope to see you all here again for that meeting. We're going to continue on through the 2026 year so that we have a chance to come together and our people can be here with you and for you for those questions. I'm going to turn this over for his regular update for Mayor.
Thank you, Mahina. I did want to acknowledge the members of the advisory team that are here. Lori Lay, I see Kim, and of course Kaliko opened us with her prayer, and Earl might be coming in later. So I just wanted to update us on a couple of things, because one of the big things I think that are going to be discussed or has been discussed in the community is the FEMA extension or not. And so I have a note here that was sent to me by Bob Fenton, and he asked that I share this on his behalf tonight because I'm sure his team is aware of what's happening, whatever it is on the ground. But these were Bob's words that he asked me to share with you folks. I did want to say that there are 946 families as of yesterday that are impacted by the FEMA direct lease, rental assistance programs, and of course those that are currently in Kilohana and some of the microsites. So before I read this, what I want to share with everyone, and probably in this order, is if you can find solutions to that temporary situation. If you're offered a place to stay as either a rental or a purchase or something that you can transition from the temporary housing, my first advice to you as a plan is to take that, if it's available, if you're offered. That is something that Bob wanted me to share as well, but I'm also in agreement with that. So if you're one of those families, please consider that as your first option. What he wanted me to share was the program of temporary housing was initially created for 18 months. It was intended to be 18 months. It was extended another year. And of course, we're requesting that they extend it for one more year. I do want to add that the state of Hawaii, who is not represented here tonight because of some other legislative events that are happening on Oahu tonight and today, they're not here. But they have already extended their program. So for those of you at Kalai'ola, for another year, from February to February of 27. So we're very grateful for the state's partnership with us and for the assistance they've been giving us really from the beginning when it comes to temporary housing. I just want to remind you guys, federal and state, they were responsible for the temporary housing pieces. The county, what we've been trying to do is a program we've been calling repopulating those areas that were destroyed. So our focus has been on getting people to permanent housing. But the state and the federal, they've been helping us from the beginning on the temporary. But those programs are going to eventually end at some point. But I just wanted to share that we're very grateful for all the work the state has also done to help us. And as far as FEMA, Bob wanted me to remind you of those two things, that it was initially an 18-month program, it was extended a year, no guarantee that it'll be extended again. However, we are hopeful that they will extend. Okay, I just want to say that. They extended it for 18 days for those of you some of you are more impacted by these discussions than others, I realize that. So if you're part of the 946 households that are, you are obviously paying close attention to everything that's happening with the FEMA program. And it was extended from February 10th to February 28th. We expect that they will give us an answer no less than 30 days before it expires. So what that means is the February 10th, they would have had to notify us by January 10th. But instead, they extended it to the end of February, which also gave them more time to decide. Now, what we know is that the request is currently sitting with the Department of Homeland Security. The Secretary has that sitting on her desk, and she'll have to make a decision to approve it. FEMA has already helped us as much as they can by getting it to the Secretary of Homeland Security. So again, we're grateful for what they've done and to get us this far, but we're hoping that, I shouldn't say we're hoping, we are planning on having FEMA approve this. But if they do not, we have been working with the county council and with state government on a plan. That's as much as I can share with you now at this hearing. The reason this meeting was continued from last Wednesday to tonight is because we thought we would have something more to share by tonight. And what I've just told you is everything we know. We have been with you from the beginning, and we've given you all the information we've had at each one of these meetings that we know at that time, and things have changed. But we're not leaving you guys, okay? We're gonna continue to work with this. If this program, if the federal government steps in, if they don't, the state, the county, there is a plan, because every one of you must be asking that question of yourself. But please understand why we're not able to get into any of those details tonight. In other words, FEMA and Homeland Security has to make their decision first and let us know what they've decided to do for the next year. Now, we will be here to answer questions later. I don't want you to take a run on FEMA and ask them a bunch of the questions, because I think whatever they've been able to tell you, they've already told you. So I just want to say that. If you are working with a DCMP person and you have paperwork that needs to be filled out, please fill out the paperwork. I know that's a hassle and I know it's been a drag, but if they're telling you that, there's a reason. So please work with the DCMPs that are out there. And again, I'll be available to answer questions. I don't want to hold up the meeting now. Did we miss anything? Where's Scott? Oh, yes, the DCMP. Yeah, so the case managers, again. For some of you, even advancing through the FEMA programs, even extending your stay, or in our Ho'okumuho programs, if you're asked to also fill out the paperwork, please do that. But do everything you can to try to get yourself to a permanent solution and not be in the group that's still waiting to hear, okay? Everybody good? Any questions? Well, sorry, I was supposed to take them later, right? Sorry, I cannot break the protocol. Mahina's back, so.
Okay.
Oh, you can introduce tomorrow.
See, so you know what kind of week I've been having. But take it to heart what Mayor is saying, but also we want to, let you know that FEMA is here. So they continue to be available. So they're here tonight as well. But please continue to use 211 as you need. And press 4 for disaster services if you've never done that before. Stay in close contact with your case manager, and please make use of our resource centers that have been made available to so many of you. I'd like to bring up your council member, Tamara Pauton. Oh, wait, so I went miss one. Sorry. Okay, no move. We wanted you to know that MEO has a program called Maui Relief Program, in case you're not familiar. So please call them. The number's on the bottom of the screen, 808-249-2990, or use their website. This is a program that supports assistance up to 4 months if you're directly impacted and you meet the household income. It could mean that you could get housing support for deposit or financial support for up to 4 months. It can assist you in paying your utilities. It can help you with a down payment. It could include a car payment for up to 4 months, and eligible family members who need school supplies, and as well as clothing allowance for your school-aged children. It can also be a benefit for you. So please, please make use of MEO's wonderful program by calling them or checking out their website. Okay, and now, Councilmember Pelton.
Aloha mai kako. A lot of information. We're just taking it, one day at a time. I did want to recognize some rock stars in our audience. We have the Mennonite Disaster Services in attendance, and along with our LTRG, Brandy and Rhonda, excellent partnerships getting people back into their houses. I'm not sure if it's true, but I heard that they even have licensed engineers draw up plans for trusses, so they don't have to wait in the backlog. So every ohana that they can get home is one less ohana on that 946 list. At our last meeting of 2025, Bill 171 passed unanimously, and that is of a specific importance to us here. It extends real property tax relief for another year for those families that have not yet been able to rebuild. So we have 1 year relief extension on real property tax. We were able to swear in our newest member, chosen by Mayor Bisin Kawanoi Batangan, representing or residing in Kahului at the beginning of this year. Our first official committee week starts the week of the 23rd, I believe, but we are having a budget meeting tomorrow just to get some updates. And the last thing, I was sent an email that the He Nohona Ulu, Maui's community forest plan is going on right now, and there's a survey, and West Maui has been severely underrepresented. So the survey is open until the end of this month. There's, I posted it on my council member Facebook page, Councilmember Tamara Paulton, as well as my Instagram. There's a QR code. You can take the survey, and it's kind of the county's plan about where we're gonna plant trees, what kind of trees we're gonna plant, and how we're gonna grow them. Trees provide shade. It kind of keeps the heat down, hopefully allows things to grow under it. So if you get a chance, check that out, press the QR code and fill out the survey. And I got some bills in the works for housing, but I'll introduce that when they're ready. I don't want to mess up the thing just yet. So that's my report for the beginning of the year.
Wow, it's been a while since I presented. I miss you guys. But for those of you who forgot who I am Shane Agawa, Director of Environmental Management. Tonight is kind of a bittersweet, and I'll explain in a little bit, but tonight I'll be presenting the last data report out for the TDS. This is the 8th report out. The 90-day period is from October to just yesterday. So for those of you who do not know, the County Council voted on Bill 120, which allowed us to share what we find in our monitoring for the TDS, which is a temporary debris site in Olowalu. Every 3 months we gave an update, and I'm happy to say that tonight is the last update. So this is just a background of Bill 120. The latest data that you guys can find on Maui Recovers was from the ending part of December of this past year. So one of the requirements was air quality monitoring, section 23A. Here you can see that the levels never reached anywhere close to the levels of concern. This is nothing new. Every report out had the same results. Unbelievable air quality monitoring from upwind, downwind, on personnel, all over the site. I think gotta change a battery in this thing. Okay, so the charts on the right, there's two different types of monitors, different levels, different sizes of particulates. As you can see, the action level, which is the red dash line on the top, and the readings, we never exceeded or got to any levels of concern. That was consistent throughout the life of the TDS. We also had to monitor leachate. Leachate is when an occurrence of water goes through any type of debris, it forms a leachate. We were very blessed to have pretty awesome weather, low incidence of rain. So not much leachate was created. The days that leachate was created, we tested it. We actually used it back on the site for dust control. These are just some of the particulates and different types of compounds that was tested in the leachate. Again, there was no levels of concern detected. Oh, full service. So the last date of sampling was October, and again, no levels of concern. There was zero leachate level in the pond. It was fairly dry most of the time, which is a good sign. Another requirement was to have BMPs, best management practices, to prevent stormwater from leaving the site. As we all know, very fragile reef in the area, pristine waters. Happy to say the BMPs worked. There was no runoff that left the site. Groundwater monitoring, that was one of the concerns as well. We had two wells, monitoring wells, one upstream and one downstream. There was no levels of concern detected in those as well. This is a new slide. All the rest you guys kind of saw before. So there's two different plans that were developed by Army Corps and their consultant. So one is the restoration plan. They did an amazing job with the TDS from where it was when it was operational to what they restored it back to. And you'll see a picture at the end showing that. But there's a restoration plan and there's also a well closure plan. So those wells were temporary just to detect the groundwater during the debris, and then they were removed as part of the agreement. So this is a picture of the TDS with debris in it, with operations ongoing. You can see the liner, the operational layer, the level you can see right there where the red pickup truck is. That is just the level of the debris, and you can see how much they removed along the way. This isn't the full TDS, but it gives you an idea of the operation that was going on in that TDS. So this is the before, and this is after restoration. And if you look at way before versus now, what they did was they put the contours back as close as possible to original. Now keep in mind, this was an active cinder mining site previous, and they did a great job, I must say, very professional. There was a pule on January 5th. Kumu Kapono'ai Molitao from our Department of OEV Resources conducted the ceremony. What you see here is a lot of participants that helped get us to this point. What you don't see is me in the picture. I'm off on the side. They needed a panoramic view for get me in, but I'm in there. Trust me, I was there. But I must say it was a very chicken skin moment. No wind, beautiful ocean view. Kumu Molitao had us just stand there in silence and listen. And when he started the Oli, the reverberation, the echo, just chicken skin. It was, yeah, you had to be there to experience it. It was amazing. Oh, and thank you to Hinana Rodriguez, Lino descendant in Olowalu, longtime family. He attended as well. I cannot say enough about my Olowalu neighbors, their patience, their input, their dedication, their understanding. And I must say, it was a long journey, but I'm glad that we all took it together as a community. Thanks to Bill 120, Council, we needed to be transparent, we needed to report the data, and we did. I believe this is the last slide. You've seen this one before. There's a QR code. There's all the references on the QR code on Maui Recovers. You can look at Bill 120 if those of you who are not familiar with it. There's all the monitoring data on there, all 8 report outs. There's reports and plans that were required for us to do. And again, lastly, I just want to thank our federal and state partners. It was an amazing effort. I tell a lot of people, you know, I'm just a messenger. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes for these presentations and the data gathering. Army Corps, the contractor consultant, excellent job on the monitoring. Just special thanks out to a couple people who, I must say, made my job a lot easier. One person is Sarah Perjosa from the EPA. A lot of you know who she is. One of the hardest workers I know, always great attitude. She helps a lot with preparing these reports for me. Again, I'm the messenger. Another person formerly with the EPA who was a huge support during the recovery effort and still continues to be is Paul Roosh. He was with the EPA and now he's with a consultant, but he's still helping us out to this day. County Counsel for Bill 120, Steph Nakasone Ramsey, who always helps prepare my presentations and make it seamless and flawless. And just everybody who was involved in this operation. I'm very proud to have been part of the team. Thank you again, Mayor Bisson, for his support, trusting in us, and always supporting us along the way. But thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Shane, so much, and for your team, and for all those shout outs. I know Haima is here as well. Where's Dawn? I just want to acknowledge Dawn and your team for that entire process too. Yeah, I know you're hiding and you don't want to be up front, but we appreciate you. I was able to be at the blessing as well, and I just count it an honor to have been there. Chicken skin is a good way to describe that. But thank you, Shane. Thank you for that report. We're glad that you don't have to do another one of those reports. It's done, so thank you. So I'm going to run through some updates from the Office of Recovery, and then I'm going to ask Jeannie to come up to go through some Ho'okumuho updates. And I'll try not to go too fast, and somebody can raise their hand if I do. I tend to talk fast sometimes. Okay. This is one of our favorite slides. You guys are used to seeing this one. We're up to 116 permits completed. That means 116 families can move back in. That's a great number that we're at. We have 339 permits that are in process. But if you drive around town, you'll see 300 homes in progress. That's a pretty awesome site. So we're happy about that. So getting to that 300 homes under construction number is a big deal. So thanks to everyone in here for helping us get there. And that, again, that's homes that people can move into, and that's the permanent solution. That's where we're all headed. So we can celebrate that one. This is what it looks like on a map. Some people love maps. I love maps. But this will give you where does that number represent in town? We have these on the Maui Recover site. We have these on Ho'okumuho to view and go look around for yourself. But we just wanted to show this is what it looks like. So issued is green, Yellow is being processed, and the blue is actually completed. So we'll continue to update that as we go. We have our GIS guy, Tim, is here tonight. He helps us with those maps. Okay. Online couldn't hear that, but we got a nice sound effect at the end of that one. The Front Street Railing Project. We've discussed this project a few times already. This is just a quick update because it's going to start to look a little bit different. Most of the work closest to the ocean is complete. This is kind of what it looks like now. What's happening next, trying with this, some of the elements that were along that walkway, right along where the railing was, these are the kinds of changes that you're going to see coming up in terms of like the stylistic changes. Now remember, this is a project that was started and approved and funded prior to the fire. Fire happened and then it was put on hold. Now it got restarted. So it's scheduled to be completed in May. They've been working on it for some time. We've reported on it. Front Street in that section is still closed and it will remain closed until this project's complete. Just highlighting that native plants will be used in replacement for what was there. There's a Milo tree. And I'm sorry, I'm having issues with the clicker. Oh, I went too fast, but that project's underway. Next month at the community meeting, we're going to ask Public Works to come in and give a more detailed presentation to you folks with some updated pictures on that one. Lahaina Harbor updates. We've also talked about this several times. We did start limited operations, which you have seen and we all know about. Just hitting the highlights that this is still limited. It's between the hours of 8 and 6 p.m., so during daylight hours. We made some adjustments right after the start during the first week. These maps are also available, but you enter from Shaw Street and you can drive and park. Those that are doing the tours will be met by the tour operators at the parking lot and escorted in. And all those details are what's outlined here. And again, those details are here and will be posted on the website. So if you decide to go down there, you can go look at this and see exactly what to expect and exactly how to do it. I will note that there are still several areas that are unable to be accessed, and those are fenced off, and the signs and everything is well run at the moment. So no need to like go into the details on it, but if you want to know more, we'll post those and you can read through this. The speed limit signs are back, so it's 10 miles per hour on the areas where you can drive. It's a lot of text that I'm not going to read to you, but basically, limited operations have begun, and there's no through traffic all the way through, especially where that project that I just talked about is still active. Okay, that was the general updates for some projects. Now I'm going to ask Jeannie to come up and talk. I think you guys know Jeannie Sutton. She's helping us with the whole Kumaho program. She's going to run through the latest and greatest from that program. Thanks, Jeannie.
Absolutely, thank you, and mahalo for the opportunity to be here once again. I do have some exciting updates for you, so excited to be here and share. In December, just before Christmas, we were able to facilitate the first closing for a first-time homebuyer opportunity program assisted property. So the first family assisted through Ho'okumaho moved into their new home. That is a lovely picture of their front door, and we were able to help them out before the holidays came, so they got to spend Christmas in their new house. So great progress there. And thank you to all of the team for helping make that possible. We also, in the month of December, had a total of 17 shopping letters. So there's 17 households that are out there shopping for their first home right now. There's some photos from each of the shopping letter ceremonies. Again, the team's doing an outstanding job getting those applications moved forward. I gotta point it in the right direction. There we go. All right. We also have 9 more shopping letters that will be going out this Friday. So a total of 26 households will be out looking for their first home and hopefully closing very soon. All right, so far for first-time homebuyer opportunity, we do have still about 1,100 applications that we're processing for eligibility. We have a large number this time of inactive applications. That's because we let those folks that were higher priority, the priority 3 and priority 4 applicants, know that unfortunately, due to the demand for the HOP program, the first-time homebuyer program, that we do not believe we'll be able to get to them just because of the amount of money that's been allocated. So the number has fluctuated a little bit over the last month because we let those folks know that. And we're still processing that 1,100 applications for eligibility. First, our housing reconstruction and reimbursement program is still open and accepting applications. So we have about 63 applications open for the submitted for the reconstruction program. Please, if you are working with a Ho'okumaho program specialist and they've reached out to you, they've sent you an email asking for documents, please get back to them as quickly as you can to make sure that we can keep processing your application. If you have questions, we have a whole team right here that is very happy to help you. Even if they're not your assigned program specialist, they can still look your case up and let you know what information is needed. So we want to get those applications processed as quickly as possible so we can start moving in the direction of starting to evaluate for potential construction. All right, we have about 104 applicants that are also in the pipeline for reimbursement. These are folks that have already completed their homes. If you filled out a pre-enrollment form and cited that you were going to complete your home before the end of last year, before December, you should have received an email or communication from one of our program specialists reaching out to see if you have completed your home. If you're not sure and you have recently completed your home and you want to explore reimbursement, please see these lovely folks over here so that they can help you evaluate if your home's ready and if you're ready to submit an application. There we go. All right, so one of the most exciting announcements from Ho'okumaho tonight is that we are very, very close to having completed the construction request for proposal or the construction contractor application process, and we'll very soon be able to let you all know who has been selected and what those homes are going to look like. So stay tuned to the Ho'okumaho website, the Maui County website, ho'okumaho.mauicounty.gov, and also come excited for the next meetings as we'll have more information to share then. Oh, went too fast again. Okay. All right. So we also have, since the month of December, between December 1st and December 15th, launched 4 new CDBG-DR funded programs. These ones are not for individuals. They are focused on repairing the infrastructure, doing mitigation type projects to prevent future loss from future disasters, as well as restoring some of the affordable multifamily housing that was previously in the community. Those applications, like I said, they opened in December. The multifamily housing applications are due back from the developers on the 15th of this month, so in just a day, tomorrow. Once those get submitted, we'll go through an evaluation process and then work with those developers to make potential awards. So this program is intended to reconstruct housing that was previously existing in Lahaina. So that affordable housing units that some folks may have stayed in. So we'll have more information as we dive into the projects about timelines for construction and other information as the program progresses. But right now we're getting good response on the applications and expect to move through those pretty quickly. We also have the new construction phase 1. So this is also for those developers that had previously affordable housing that was destroyed by the fire, but are going to be expanding or exploring new parcels for that. So same concept for both programs. As a reminder, you can reach out to us online, via email, via phone. You can visit us right here. Please let your friends and family know if they've heard from the program specialists to go ahead and get back to them as quickly as we can so we can move forward and hopefully work to get everyone home.
Thanks, Jeannie. So if you have questions on that, again, any of those things, if you're part of a recovery team over here, raise your hand, which is pretty much these tables. So you should be able to find help if you need help tonight for any of those questions. I highly encourage you, if you applied for a program and you're not sure the status of your program, or you think you may be one of those inactive ones, just come and check that there's no harm in that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. So now we're at our favorite portion. For me, no. But I have Mahina back. But before we do that, do we want to do a closing with Mayor or no? After? Okay. Okay, so who's running the mics? Okay. First question, right back here. I love how I don't even have to explain this part of it. Everybody knows what the deal is.
Approximately how many houses, or units I should say, are going to become available when the county does do the restoration of like Front Street Apartments and Lahaina Surf and those? And then how many of the people that are displaced still in FEMA programs would be able to move into those? And then is that information that we can share with FEMA, whoever's making the decision, just to say, here's our timeline, if you could just extend those? I mean, is there a way to kind of, I'm a salesperson, so is there a kind of way to sell them on there? We're planning on being done with those projects and can transition people. What kind of numbers are we talking for how many units are going to become available to restore?
Yeah, so like Mayor said pretty plainly early on, the county's been focused on the permanent side from the beginning, like the repopulation piece of it. So we know that if everything was rebuilt, then that theoretically solves that gap problem that you're talking about. All of the programs that we've got in here are to fix that problem, fix a funding problem, fix whatever that problem is, plus. So when, at the end of the day, when these programs are done, we'll have more housing stock than we had even before the fire. The issue is the timing. I think that's pretty clear. And it's pretty unique here compared to other disaster areas. So we've made that argument very clearly with FEMA. I'm gonna wave at Allie over here. So I don't want to tell you how many phone conversations that we've had and how many times we've gamed this out and how much support that we've given to FEMA and to the state in conjunction with the state in terms of gaming the entire thing out. It's a timing issue, but at the end of the day, once these programs are successful, we'll have more housing stock than we had before the fire. That's the simple answer. It's just, is it going to be done fast enough?
Okay, and then I guess my other,
Yeah, I'd like take a chance at answering some of that too. So one of the agreements we've made with FEMA in exchange for them extending the program is to concede, or I should say to agree, that the 946 households who are currently being supported by FEMA dollars be some of the first people that we move into this ho'okumuho programs that you guys have been hearing about. Now, just to remind you, these are HUD-funded homes that require that you meet HUD standards. So basically Section 8 housing, I think people are familiar with that term. So these aren't monies just for anyone who was involved, unfortunately, and for those of you who have been at all of our community meetings, you were made aware of that early on, of what the AMI restrictions and requirements were. So I just want to say, one of the things we've agreed to in our talks with FEMA is that we will help to get that number down by putting them in, folks into programs that they qualify for. One more thing I would add, and that was a great job that Jeannie just did of bringing you folks up to speed, but one of the 3 programs at Ho'okumaho is the first-time homebuyers program. Basically, your residents, your families, your friends who were renting in Lahaina, maybe they were living with family, they all have a chance to have their own homes, own their homes. Now, there were 17 that have been given out. There's 9 that will be given out the end of this week. That's 26. 26 families that never thought they'd be able to afford a home on Maui. Now, they're not all in Lahaina. Some of them are, but not all. But those are 26 families that never thought they'd be able to buy. And we have room for, I want to say, up to 150 of those. And so, and some of them you're not going to hear about because they don't want to be put in front of a camera or videotape. They're just happy. They understand there's other people out there who are looking too. And you know how you might feel if you get something and somebody else doesn't get something. So, you know, they're just trying to be quiet about getting their award because they qualified and they deserve them. And then having them just get on with moving into their new homes. And I don't mean brand new homes. Most of them are buying homes, obviously, that are already on the market. But I just want you folks to know that you're Lahaina people. And I think if I ask Kukui, but I know she won't give out all the names because people don't want to be named, Kukui can tell you most of the names, Lahaina families. All the names you guys would recognize. But again, they're not out here to brag or to say, hey, look, I got mine, okay? So just know that's 26, and we got room for 124 more. So that's part of what you were asking about. Yeah,
Yes,
that's good news, you guys.
Thank you. And then I just had one other question unrelated to that. How soon can we expect, like, Paunau Park, it's a little pocket park near the smokestack in that neighborhood, Waihakui, when do we expect some of those parks to be, like, you know, kind of at least put back to what it was pre-fire, and the playground over by the community center? Some of those things would be nice to get the recreational, and then also the parks that were promised by the county over by Kahoma in exchange for the Kahoma village getting to rebuild in that settlement agreement. So what's the situation on the parks in Lahaina?
Yeah, I can't give you a date tonight, but I am happy to bring that back at the next community meeting. All of those things are in progress, but I'd like to bring Pat back in here to talk about the parks, and Pat McCall, the parks director, or maybe Shane. But that, I can't give you a date right now. I can tell you that all of those things are in progress, including the new park space. Some of it's in the planning phase, some of it's closer. Some of it has to do with reimbursement from FEMA for damage and the timing of that, and each one has its own scenario. So we could come back with a presentation on that. But that's a good question. Thank you. Okay, where are we? Let's keep this moving. Don't tell me we answered all the questions.
No, I was
Jackie.
going to wait to see if other people had. Thanks, everybody. I just wanted to, skipping one, because it's Kilohana and microsite related. We don't really have answers. But first, to the point about, I appreciate the update on the multi-family, because that's just not something that's been talked about a lot. And I'm wondering, is there any sort of timeline incentives that are attached to that? Or, so the reason that I asked, to give that question some context, is just, my understanding is that at the Front Street apartment, like, listening session that they did, they said that they were estimating, I think, 2029. And obviously that's not super helpful for us. And so that's my first question, is like, is there some sort of timeline incentive attached to that?
Yeah, I can have Jeannie maybe help with that question, but essentially what's happening is where there's funding gaps for, say, the Front Street Apartment project, we're filling the gap so that they can set a realistic timeline. Sometimes it's hard to plan if you don't have all the money. So what we're helping them do is bridge that gap so that they can move forward with a schedule that is something that we can all rely on. I guess that's the simple answer. We do, if we get involved with Ho'okumaho, we can set serious deadlines performance metrics that they have to meet because we're participating in the funding, and we do plan to do that. So that, I don't know if you want to add to that. Does that pretty much answer it? Okay. Does that help?
It does help.
Yeah.
Another piece of that, so it being like HUD related, right, like federal funding, does that mean that we are looking at them being held to ADA standards? Because part of the concern that I had with their first listening session is that they said, well, we want to shoot for 3 stories, but also we don't want to have elevators. So like we're saying that we want to rebuild Lahaina in a way that can keep people home and let people age in place. But if we're not planning for elevators or, you know, more units that are going to be accessible, that's going to be a problem.
Accessibility requirements are built into the HUD funding. So if we participate in the project, accessibility comes with that.
Great, I appreciate that. HUD funding wise, one of the concerns that we come across with like Hale Mahaolu is that when we're looking at a HUD project, we're subject to federal regulations, right? And there's no, you know, you can't prioritize this person that lived there. Is there some sort of exploration of prioritizing people that do live here? Because I think generally that's not typically allowed under HUD, but I think that's a really important piece of that conversation.
You know, that's a great question. And we have Managing Director Josiah Nishita. Yes, let's give him an applause. This guy, he works harder than anybody that I know, and I don't say that lightly. So, Josiah.
Thank you very much. Just real quick, getting back to your question about Front Street Apartments specifically, we meet constantly with the state, HHFDC, as well as the developer itself to make sure we can always find ways to break down barriers and get the project going as quickly as possible. So please note that that project in particular, as many other projects are particular importance to us. Getting to your kind of last question here, we have had discussions with HUD specifically about prioritization of residents and our wildfire survivors. So, you know, determinations that we've got have allowed us in situations like Kaiulu o Kukuia and Kaiulu o Kupuohi to be able to prioritize. So we can't give like a requirement, but we can give a prioritization of wildfire survivors. And luckily we've been able to collect a lot of applications from individuals who have been displaced and then able to reprioritize them into housing. So, you know, we're really appreciative of HUD allowing to provide us that guidance. Because we have faced issues with fair housing laws in the past and want to make sure that we're, of course, on the up and up with any legal regulations that are required, but also knowing the situation that we're in and the struggle that our residents face, you know, providing that prioritization to them is of utmost importance.
Yeah, that's really appreciated. Thank you, Josiah. I will stop bogarting the microphone. My last question that I'll ask, not my last question. I know that there's some state people here, and I'm wondering if any of them can talk to what is the current wait list like for the HIP programming? And also, is there anyone that can speak on like the GEM program extension / update that's supposed to, the contract I think is supposed to start tomorrow. It came up in a meeting I was on today, but just want to know if there's anyone here that can speak to any of that.
Okay, I'm not aware that our HIP program representatives from the state are here today. I believe they had conflicts, but I do believe we have been asking them to attend at the next meeting. So, you know, we'll relay that information and make sure to share that at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Josiah. Thanks, Jackie. I just want to note that going back to one of the other questions in terms of timing, the other thing that just kind of got glossed over in there that not everybody talks about infrastructure because it's like, that's boring. But we are using, but I love infrastructure because I'm an engineer. So we are using some of the funds from the Ho'okumaho program for infrastructure. So like we're working with Shane's group, we're working with Kimo, who you know well, we'll bring him back. We're working with Jordan at Public Works. All of those folks have projects that are in Lahaina that are going to support all these housing projects. It's going to make it safer, it's going to make it better, and it's going to add capacity for the future. So that's all happening concurrently too. And as those projects are funded, we'll bring them in and we'll highlight those for you as well. It's a big puzzle. We're putting the puzzle together, but each one of those is a really important project, and each one of them plays a role in the timeline for the housing projects. Next question.
Is there any update on the Waiakuli sewer timeline?
That's one of those projects that I just talked about. Good question. No, that is a project that is being applied for the DR funding, and it has a high likelihood of eligibility. So we're trying very hard to get the whole thing done. Right now, it's very expensive in that neighborhood, and I'll leave it at that. But that makes the point that I just made. So yes, it's moving forward. Can I give you the exact date, and is it fully funded? I can't say that today, but we're working with Shane, and I don't know if you want to add to that. It's 90% designed today. That's where that project is. So we talked a lot about Ho'okumaho and DR funds, and maybe another day we'll also come in and talk about additional funding sources that we are working on. So Sarah Pedroza, who you guys know is working for the EPA, she's been a huge advocate for us inside the EPA, and she's come and talked through that. So we have other avenues to funding. So maybe where the DR program can pay part of it, another federal fund could fill the gap, or vice versa. That's all actively working right now. I just can't tell you it's going to happen this exact date. But thank you for that question. These meetings are interesting. I never quite know what's going to happen during the Q&A session. It seems like, okay, Jackie's got one more.
I took it back since no one was asking anything.
Yeah.
So the one that I'll leave you with is, what is being done to address permit confusion? So I realize that's a vague, overcasting question, but kind of more specifically, like just examples that I've spoken to with people for getting your, you think you have plans that work and then your square footage is off. And to me, that seems like something the architect should know, but if we're gonna have it on the homeowner to know, like, where is there a central location that people can be able to reference all of these things? Like, not being a homeowner, I don't have a maps dashboard, so I can't speak to what that looks like, but I can speak to what MauiRecovers.org looks like, and I don't see any of that. So I'm just wondering, like, where can we guide people for that?
Well, for most people that are trying to rebuild, that's why we set up the fast track process with 4-Leaf. 4-Leaf is the county's operator in terms of the county staff don't have that same burden that they have in the normal process. So almost all the questions related to permitting can go straight to 4-Leaf personnel and at a resource center. So, and you may have to make an appointment if they're not there, but those kinds of questions could be answered at that level. Once it gets beyond 4-Leaf, you may, if you have something really complicated, and we've talked about really complicated things in here before, we may make it all the way to back to the department where 4-Leaf says, I can't quite answer that one. This is a very subjective thing that the director needs to weigh in on. And those, I can't go through one-on-one, but that's the process. And we can work on more visibility on Maui Recovers if that's an issue. So thanks for that question. Okay, more. Okay.
Follow-up to that. So I have gone to 4-Leaf, and my interaction with them was that they were the intake, but then it goes out to all the departments. So I guess the question I have regarding the permits is this a linear process, or do all of the departments kind of do this at the same time so that it speeds it up, or are we literally waiting for one department to finish before the next one even looks at the plans?
So Yeah, no, it's simultaneous. So when the plans come in, I just got reassurance that my answer is correct. When the plans come in, you have like plumbing code, you have electrical code, you have the structural piece of it, you have the planning and zoning piece of it. What else we have? Fire, water. All 6 of those look at it concurrently, meaning all at the same time. All of them comment in the same system, and then we ping the department if we're waiting on something so that those reviews can happen. I will tell you what happens sometimes is a comment will come in because somebody missed a code issue and it had to make a change in the whole house. And if it's substantial enough, it might have to go back out for re-review. That happens. I mean, that's not uncommon. Does that answer the question, though? Okay, thank you.
Over here, John.
Okay.
Aloha. I know the county is attempting to answer some of the questions that are going on with our Facebook audience, the ones who are part of the family but not able to be here. I like the question, though, that says, can anyone tell me if there's been discussion of burying the power utility lines, the status of that? I know Shane will probably say it's 90% designed already.
You're talking about underground utility? Is that what the question is? Yeah, we continue to work with Hawaiian Electric on that very issue, and it's in various stages of discussion. The easiest one to answer is all new construction. So like if a new development happens, that's pretty much automatically going to be an underground product. The harder part is where we have existing homes and existing services. And so those are the ones we're in discussion on. Some of them become hardening projects. Some of them do make their way to undergrounding projects, and happy to bring Hawaiian Electric back just to talk about that. Colton has been here before to talk about that, and we're happy to bring him back. Some of the work that we have going on in the commercial area, in the Front Street area, Luakini area, if those projects move forward, we will look to underground some of those that are currently above ground. They're very hard projects, they're very expensive projects, but they're in various levels of discussion. Thank you for that question. Okay, we have an online question. I need my glasses. Any improvements and updating to the infrastructure on Lahaina Luna Road neighborhoods? You know, we can have Public Works answer that question when they come next week as well. They do have a project that is on Lahaina Luna Road that is a rehabilitation project for that road. And there are some improvements that go along with that. So we can answer that question next month. I don't have the current status of that project, but I know it is designed, and I believe it's already funded through the department. That was another project that was on the books before and now has legs to move forward today. This is the most calm. It's because Mahina's here. Thank you for coming back, Mahima. Okay. Are there any plans to replace kapuna housing that was lost in the fires? Yes. There are plans to replace kapuna housing that were lost in the fires. The program, the reconstruction program, is my favorite program. I don't want to say favorite. The one I'm very excited about is the reconstruction program because we're able to help kapuna come back. So if you owned a home anywhere in the burn zone, you are likely eligible if you're kapuna status. So please come in. You may not think you are. So based on the stats we've got so far and who's applied, you might be thinking, I'd never be eligible for that program. There's a chance you're eligible for that program. Please come see us if you haven't done so. On that program, yeah? You want to come back up and talk about that one more time? Yeah? We're going to elaborate one more time. We're going to make just a sneak preview. We're going to make a big push on this program next month. We just can't quite talk about it yet because the award hasn't been done for the contract. But as soon as that award's done, you guys are going to see renderings, you're going to see what the house plans look like, and it's going to create a lot of excitement. And in particular, we've created several models that are really ready for Kupuna. So let's talk about that one more time.
Absolutely. So single family homeowner reconstruction program. It's one of the Ho'okumaho programs that is out there available right now. You can submit an application online. This program is intended for households that had a home within the burn zone, as John mentioned, but have not started construction. So if you're out there or you are aware of a kupuna that it has not started construction yet and isn't really sure which direction to go, they can go online. They can walk into the Lahaina Resource Center at the Lahaina Gateway next to the Sherwin-Williams. If they're staying in Kahului or somewhere on that side, they can also go into the Kahului Resource Center at the Maui Mall. Any of these lovely folks would be able to, are going to be there and able to help fill out an application or answer questions. As John mentioned, because of the HUD funds, there are income limits, but the county's program is designed to serve households up to 140% of the area median income. So as it stands right now, there is funding capacity for more applications, and right now we're looking at potentially being able to serve everyone that has submitted an application and has been determined eligible thus far. So it's important, if you have questions about that or want to know more, please send folks over to the resource centers or give us a call or an email.
Yeah, thanks, Jeannie. Okay, more people want to weigh in.
Just that, and I don't know, Jeannie, if you want anything to add, but I think this question has come up before, but it's not just related to single family reconstruction, but also to the multi-family reconstruction programs, which includes like Halimaholu or others with that provide services or housing to kupuna. So I think as relayed earlier, we have been taking applications for funding assistance for those programs. And we are working specifically with those agencies, such as Halimaholu, for funding assistance for the rebuild for kupuna housing. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered that portion of it as well. And if I could just clarify one thing too that was stated earlier. This goes back to the whole prioritization piece that Jackie asked. Jeannie had mentioned about the phase 3, phase 4 letters kind of going out for the HOP program. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood the program prioritization. So the phase 1 was households whose primary residence on August 8th were within the burn zone and then whose annual income was less than 80% AMI. Phase 2 was the primary residents were within the burn zone and whose annual income is between 80 to 120. And then the two areas that Jeannie mentioned that letters went out to, and this goes back to the kind of prioritization question, that phase 3 were households whose primary residents were outside of the burn zone and whose annual income is equal to or less than 80% AMI. And then phase 4, which also received letters, their primary residence was also outside of the burn zone. So, and it's between 80 to 120. So, you know, because it's federally funded programs and everything, we can't exclude individuals from participating in the programs, but there is prioritization built in to make sure that we're caring for those most vulnerable and needy of assistance. So just to provide that too. And I don't know, okay, perfect, thank you.
We're going to ask Mahina to come back up and go over some stuff online.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Josiah. So there are some questions coming up online. We will respond online to tell you if we have to follow up. One of them is about the role that the DCMs will do and how do they define success. So Stephanie there will be able to note to you. But there seems to be catch-up questions on the FEMA issue that we talked about at the very start of the meeting. So let me read a particular question. And one of the questions that are coming up is, so to clarify, is there a February 28th deadline? Yes, there is a February 28th deadline. That is the current deadline. So the things that Mayor discussed earlier was the most update information we can give you. But this question says, if they don't extend the FEMA assistance, what are they going to do with the structure that they placed on people's properties? And would the county or state consider buying it from FEMA and renting it out to those who are currently living in it at a reasonable price? So I'm sure Mayor can help with that and also reiterate a little bit about where we are with FEMA for those joining late.
Before FEMA brought the first structures over here, they had conversations with both the governor and myself about what would be the exit strategy of those structures. And FEMA has a few options that they offered or that they do in things such as ours, disasters like ours. One of them was to remove them and to return the property to the original condition that it was in before they put that structure on there. The second was to sell it to the homeowner or the landowner that the structure was sitting on, either at a reduced price or depending on how long the structure was there. A structure there for a year is going to be worth more than a structure that's been there for 5 years. So again, they would be taking the value of that structure at that moment in time and deciding on what a fair price would be. The third is to give it to the state or the county at no charge, and the state or the county would decide. You can probably imagine what it cost and what it took to bring many of those structures from the mainland or even outside of the country to Maui. And the cost of just staging them, if you were watching in the early days down at Kahului Harbor, sort of boat ramp area, getting them there and then trucking them over here, making sure they fit through the tunnel, bringing them at certain times at night, and then putting them on people's property, and all that it took to do that. Very, very expensive. So it would probably cost just as much to remove them and take them back. So both the governor and myself agreed that we would take the structures for free. Like we said, we take them at no cost. And that's the last we talked about it. Now, again, it's up to FEMA to decide if they'd rather remove them or give them to us for free. So we don't know what that's going to be. Now, if you're the landowner and you agree to have one put on your property, you would get the first choice for that dwelling. Now, I'm going to be really subtle in saying this because it's a very nuanced distinction. FEMA had a requirement that they could not put a unit on a property unless it was an accessory dwelling unit. In other words, it could not replace the footprint of your original home. So if you had a lot that could only fit a rebuild of your home, FEMA could not put one on it because FEMA is very strict that their houses are temporary. The state of Hawaii doesn't have that requirement. The state doesn't have the requirement that it can only be your principal residence. I hope I'm making sense when I say that. So if you have a small lot, there's unlikely that you could have one of these put on there because then it would look like it's your permanent residence so that's where you're going to live in for a longer time. And FEMA wasn't allowing that. That's why some of you maybe who requested were rejected because you had to be able to fit your original home on the lot plus the accessory dwelling. The governor has the first say in what to do with those units because he signed the contract with FEMA. He was the one who agreed for them to bring those in. But if he accepts them, he can give them to the county, or we can talk about how to do it. We're kind of far away from that decision. We're not there yet. But those are some of the options that could happen. They could sell them, they could take them back, they could give them to us. Does that answer the online question? We're going to say yes because the online person not here. So we're going to say that answered the question. Right? Is anybody? Oh, there's one more question? Sorry, were you pointing? Oh, go ahead. You want to ask a question?
I just met this couple. They said their house is done, but they don't have electricity. There's electric people here.
Well, I'm just going to ask a couple questions. Where is the house located? What Wahikuli?
I've been there for a year.
The house has been there for a year.
Waiting for election for a year. They finally came this morning.
Okay.
So probably going to get sometime this month. Hopefully, we get back home before FEMA tell us go someplace, you know.
Okay.
We got up to the 28th.
I think Mikey's going to help us with this answer. Mikey?
Uncle, over here. Right after we conclude this meeting, we're going to have the table right in front. You can see the HICO sign. Please come talk to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
And then for me, is Maui strong here? No.
Probably, some folks.
Where's the money?
Is that a question for the county?
I just wondering, where's the money, Maui Strong?
Okay.
I signed up for help and I got nothing.
You're talking about Hawaii Community Foundation, the Maui Strong Fund. Is that right? Okay. Do you have something a more specific question? Like, was it a program that, or you just wanted a loan? What is this for?
The help,
Okay.
the assistance.
Okay. I don't know the answer to that. We don't have them here right now. Maybe Josiah does.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're not going to speak on behalf of Hawaii Community Foundation, but their report is available online. We can help provide that information to you later. And you can see their grantees, expenditures, who they given funding to. So in the sense of the overall question of where did the funding go, they do report that online. Specifically to your question, if like you asked for funding and maybe got denied or whatnot, we'd have to refer you directly to Hawaii Community Foundation for your specific situation. Thank you.
And hopefully, I'm hoping that there are other resources that you're being used, that you can also tap into. We are going to end tonight's meeting and remind everybody that FEMA is here, Hawaiian Electric will be here. We have Shane Ogawa with Environmental Management, 4-Leaf, and our friends from Office of Recovery. I cannot tell you how happy I am to be back to see all of you. So we wish you a safe evening. Thank you so much, everybody. And mahalo to Akaku for always being here and showing tonight's meeting live. Mahalo, Akaku. Good night, everybody. Take care. Aloha.